Greetings, everybody. Welcome to the September 30th, 2015 edition of the Midweek Update here on Rasslin with Redbeard. It's been raining so much that I'm taking just enough time out of my arc building schedule to record this show. Number 5 story of the week is that there was a fan incident at AML Wrestling's event this past weekend. AML Wrestling is one of the top companies in North Carolina. We've not had a chance to get up there and cover them here on Rasslin with Redbeard, but we look forward to doing that at some point in the future. What happened was, during the main event, Cedric Alexander was challenging Caprice Coleman for the AML Championship, and at some point during the introduction period there, we believe that what happened was a fan that has had some interaction with Caprice in the back or in the previous events apparently got close to Caprice, and Caprice took his glasses off of his face and walked away with them. And then the fan shoved Caprice in the back. This led to the fan being escorted from the building, and Caprice, according to what AML has publicized via a press release, has been put on 90 days probation. This is another incident that is going to, of course, haunt professional wrestling here for a while, because it's become the flavor of the week in terms of what we hear about a lot on news sites and what have you. You're going to wind up with a situation to where something happens and somebody gets hurt, either a fan or a wrestler one, and then it's going to be guardrails everywhere. The ring has to be 20 feet away from pedestrians or from civilians, and it's just going to be a bad scene. It's going to take, unfortunately, that happening before it becomes, sort of a standard operating equipment for every promotion to have some type of barrier between fans and talent. You hate to have that happen because in some venues you don't have a whole lot of room, but it's going to become the norm. We're just getting to a point where we can't do anything nice, apparently, and we can't do swell things like go up to a ring without having some situation like this erupt. It's just going to get worse and worse until, unfortunately, something really bad happens, and then everybody's going to come to their senses and say, this is what we should have been doing all along, more than likely. Number 4 story of the week is that Hornswoggle has been suspended by WWE. This was a result of a wellness policy violation. There's never any type of real news in terms of what substance these guys may or may not have had in their system at the point in time that the wellness test was conducted. It would be difficult to imagine someone like Hornswoggle having been suspended for something like steroids. It's not a little person joke. It's just, it is what it is. This likely was some type of substance like a drug or whatnot. Could have been marijuana, could have been anything. We can always speculate over what it was. I'm sure at some point in his career he'll come out with a shoot video or whatnot and let everybody know what happened. But the kind of interesting situation with this is that this is the first publicly acknowledged wellness violation in better than 2 years. You used to hear these things quite often, and now it's gotten to a point where you hardly ever hear of them publicizing in any way that someone has been suspended. Is that for any particular reason? Have these guys just gotten smarter with what they do? Who knows? I'm sure there'll be some people out there, not myself included, who will speculate that this is a sign that only certain stars get their names put in the news for something like this, whereas others, it kind of gets brushed under the rug or whatnot. Still, it's kind of interesting from that standpoint, and also, you always have the stuff with a guy like him, Hornswoggle, that being, people will come up and say, he still works for WWE. Yeah, he does. He's still there, and apparently he's going to be sitting on his couch for the next couple of days anyway. Not that he wasn't anyway, because of the fact that he's been at home for a while since he hasn't been on TV and gosh knows when. Number 3 story of the week is Jake Roberts is in Las Vegas. Jake had been promoted very heavily by a company called Hardcore Championship Wrestling for an event they held this past weekend in Forest City, North Carolina. Evidently, Jake decided not to come for one reason or another. Publicly, Hardcore Championship Wrestling has said that they received messages from Jake and his people saying that he was under the weather and not able to make the trip. But then on Twitter, Jake said, I'm in Vegas. This is one of those stories where it can go one way or another. You sometimes hear of a legend like this doing, something along these lines to where they wind up taking a booking with a company like Hardcore Championship Wrestling, and then someone else comes along with a better offer, more money, something along those lines, and they get into a bidding war or whatnot, and it just goes the way it goes. But this seems to have been kind of a mix of both, at least in my opinion, because if you look at Jake's Twitter, he was making the rounds for a number of different appearances, as he usually does, He's quite out there despite being up there in age and whatnot. But it's just very interesting because they had promoted him for quite some time. It looked like everything was lined up, and then poof, he's not there. Hardcore Championship Wrestling did have a good show, though, from what we could tell. Looked like they had nearly a standing room only crowd in that particular venue. Of course, Forest City is a very much a hotbed of professional wrestling. You have SWA, Hardcore Championship Wrestling, a number of other promotions that work in that particular area. But still, it's very disappointing that the crowd there didn't get to see someone like Jake Roberts. And it's even more disappointing to hear someone like him kind of leading people on and making people believe, oh, well, I'll be there, I'm coming. And then, well, someone told me I could come to Las Vegas and hang out with him instead, so I'm going over there. So what would you pick? Forest City, North Carolina, or Las Vegas, if it was you? Number 2 story of the week is our WWE Madison Square Garden Network special preview. This is an event that they've been promoting for some time. It's going to be headlined by Big Show challenging Brock Lesnar as part of Brock Goes to Hell or October Goes to Hell, something along those lines. The interesting part about this particular matchup is that it's been done before. It's been done quite a few times. Matter of fact, I saw it in person at one point. I saw it 12 years ago almost, to this very day. That was at the Judgment Day 2003 pay-per-view that was up at the Charlotte Coliseum in Charlotte, North Carolina. Unfortunately, that building doesn't exist anymore, but that particular event was quite good, and it was a very big pay-per-view at that point in time because the match that they had was something of a no disqualification type scenario to where Brock Lesnar wound up pinning Big Show with the assistance of a forklift. That was very clever, especially back in that era there. But this is going to be an interesting show here for WWE. It's a network special that's going to be airing, of course, on the WWE Network. There look to be championship matches all the way around. You've got not only the tag team championships that will be defended by the New Day as they challenge, or as they're being challenged by the Dudleys. You've also got United States and Intercontinental Championship matches that are on the card. The WWE World Heavyweight Championship will not be defended. I don't believe the Divas Championship will be either, but all the other belts will be on the line there. Should be a fun show. Madison Square Garden, of course, is the mecca of professional wrestling. It will always be heralded as that, and that's definitely a title it has earned by virtue of the shows that have been there and the history that it has. But should be a fun event, and we'll be interested to see what the turnout is as far as the crowd there and also what happens in terms of viewership numbers, because it's competing with a lot of other events that are going on this weekend, not including our number 1 story, which is number 1 story of the week is our Bound for Glory pay-per-view preview. This event has been touted very heavily here in the news. There's been a lot of talk about this particular event because folks are trying to say, oh, well, this could be TNA's last shot. This could be their final best effort towards whatever they've got going on in the future. It's a little bit interesting from the standpoint that the card has not even been finalized. Not publicly anyway. You're still getting match announcements leading up to this event, which is supposed to be TNA's biggest event of the year. The card that we do know of consists of TNA Heavyweight Championship match that will be Ethan Carter III being challenged by Drew Galloway. Then you'll also have a Knockouts Championship match where Gail Kim will be facing off with Amazing Kong. Then you've got a couple other matches. The one that we have not got a finalized look at as far as championships are concerned is the X Division Championship. Tigre Uno will be defending against 3 other competitors in a Ultimate X match. That should be fun. Then also the Tag Team Championship will be defended by the American Wolves. They'll be challenged by Brian Myers and Trevor Lee. That's interesting from the standpoint that Trevor Lee and Brian Myers are not TNA contracted wrestlers. They are, in fact, Global Force Wrestling talent. So apparently, in some way, shape, or form, the feud between those two companies is still ongoing, at least from that regard there. A couple other matches will be on the card there. Kurt Angle is going to have a match with Eric Young. He seems to be sort of the hand-picked challenger for Kurt's final couple of matches here within TNA. So they should have some good contests there. This is going to be, as we mentioned here in the past, in Charlotte, North Carolina. In Concord, North Carolina. See, the promotion has gotten in my head. It's going to be in Concord, North Carolina at the Cabarrus Event Center. we're going to be up there for the event. We're going to be filming episode 20 of the main show here on Rasslin with Redbeard. So it's hopefully going to be a good program. We're looking forward to it. We're looking forward to seeing not only the reaction that the fans give it there locally, but also what it's received by as on a bigger scale there as well. So it should be a lot of fun. Should be a good road trip there for us. Speaking of events, this is the point in the program where we like to tell you what's going on in our part of the world as far as the shows that will be happening in and around this area coming up this weekend. So let's go ahead and roll those posters for you and get you caught up on what's happening in this part of the world. Alright folks, there you have it. Our rundown of the events that are happening in this part of the world. I want to take a special moment to point out a couple of those. Legacy Championship Wrestling, I believe that's their debut event. I've not seen any posters or content from them previously. Also, you've got, of course, as we talked about, the Bound for Glory pay-per-view will be emanating from Concord, North Carolina. Also, the Roast of Bob Keller is happening this weekend around the same time as Bound for Glory. That is going to be a really fun event. I don't think it'll be something that's appropriate for young ears, though. So if you want to hear some good comedy and some good stories from guys that have had the opportunity to work with Bob, that'd be a great chance to go out there and check that out. Bob is a major contributor to the professional wrestling scene in and around South Carolina especially. So if you got a chance to go ahead and make plans to attend that event now. We appreciate you guys tuning in. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and click that like button. And if you really enjoy what we've got on the channel here, go ahead and click that subscribe button. You do have a YouTube account, don't you? Yeah, if you have a Gmail, you have a YouTube account. That said, if you are a wrestling promoter, a wrestler, or in some way associated with a wrestling promotion, and you didn't see your poster in our poster segment there, it's because of the fact that we didn't know about it. If you want to have your content on the channel here, if you want to have it on the YouTube page, please drop us a line with that information. We'd be glad to have it on here, because that's a big part of what we do here on Rasslin with Redbeard, is promote the local shows and talent that we have in this part of the world. Appreciate you guys tuning in once again. We'll see you next week.